Hello, everybody. The next topic that we're going to be discussing is the subject of Hatmanah, wrapping food. We're continuing to talk about the subject of leaving food Friday night. Before we were talking about leaving food on a fire, now we're going to be talking about wrapping food. Hatmanah, the Gemara talks about two basic different kinds of Hatmanah. There's two categories. There's a category of Hatmanah b'davar ha'maisif hevel, and something which will add heat, and Hatmanah b'davar she'ein ha'maisif hevel, wrapping something which will not add heat. In the times of the Gemara, they used to wrap in things like sand and wet grass, different things which not only kept the food hot, they would take it out of the oven for Shabbos and wrap it in these things which would actually elevate the heat level. It would actually make it hotter. That is usher to do even if you wrap it there before Shabbos. Our hatmana that we have, that you'll sometimes see people wrap the soup pot in a towel. Most things that people wrap in is a davar she'ein ma'asav hevel. A towel is davar she'ein ma'asav hevel. What does a towel do? It doesn't make it hotter. A towel will help it maintain the heat that it has for a long while. It actually works pretty well. If you ever try it, take the pot off the fire before Shabbos and wrap it well in a bath towel. It will actually still be quite hot when you get up to the soup course at the Friday night Suda. But it's just maintaining the heat. So Chazal said to wrap it in something which will add heat, you cannot do before Shabbos. You can't even you cannot leave it in such a wrapping which will add heat as Shabbos begins. But to wrap it in a davar she'ein ma'asav hevel, such as a towel, that's okay. So most of the wrapping that we have is a davar she'ein ma'asav hevel, but there's one major exception, and that is that if you wrap something in a davar she'ein ma'asav hevel, such as a towel, but you leave it on top of a heat source, that is also considered wrapping in a davar ma'asav hevel. So if you wrap something and you leave it on top of the crock pot. So let's say you wrap something, you want it to get nice and hot, so you wrap it you have something that's like hot, and you wrap it in a bunch of layers of silver foil and put it onto the crock pot, or you put it on top of the crock pot and you drape a towel over it, obviously in a safe way, so that it should maintain the heat. That is called a davar hamaisav hevel. Again, even though the towel itself will not add heat, but since the food is being placed on top of a crock pot or on top of a blech in a permissible way, and now you're putting the towel on top of it, the towel in concert with the heat source will be considered a davar hamaisav hevel, and you would not be allowed to do that even before Shabbos. So, just to be clear, to wrap in a davar she'ein ma'asav hevel, something which will not add heat, is mutter to do before Shabbos. You cannot do that on Shabbos. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. You cannot do that on Shabbos. You can only do that before Shabbos. To wrap in a davar hamaisav hevel, to wrap in something which will add heat, or to wrap in a towel on top of a fire, which is also called davar hamaisav hevel, adding heat, that is forbidden to do even before Shabbos. You cannot leave it on the fire in such a way at the beginning of Shabbos. That would also be usher. Now, of course, when we talk about wrapping something, putting it on top of the crock pot, we mean that you're wrapping it for the sake of keeping it hot. You put a towel over it to keep it hot. If you're just wrapping something with like one layer of silver foil to keep it clean for sanitary reasons, so nobody should touch it, that's not called wrapping for heat. And that would be mutter. You could put something like in a silver foil, again, unless you have to know the truth. If you're doing it to increase the heat, then you can't. But if you're doing it just for sanitary reasons, to keep the bugs off or something, and then you'll put it on top of the crock pot before Shabbos, that would, if it's a dry thing, it would be mutter even on Shabbos to do that. That would be mutter. That is not called wrapping. Wrapping has to be for the sake of the heat. If it's not for the sake of the heat, that's not called wrapping. Okay, that's the basics. We just got started, and we'll discuss more of the halachas of Hatmanah as we go along in the next couple of days.